Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new Fast Track session. I'm Marketing Communications Manager Daniel Sloan, and on behalf of Trident, I want to say thank you for taking the next step in your educational journey with us. New students often have a lot of questions, and we're here to help. We've gathered some of the best and brightest from Trident's faculty and staff to help guide you to success starting today and through to graduation day. First, I'd like to introduce Dr. George Dell, a recent graduate of Trident's PhD in Educational Leadership program. He joined Trident in 2010 and currently serves as a full-time instructor and course coordinator in University College. Dr. Dell has received numerous awards during his time at the university, including honors for communication and collaboration and for student motivation. He's a passionate advocate for student success. Our second presenter today is Tosha Cureton. She currently serves as a Student Success Advisor 3, classroom instructor, and disability services coordinator. For the past decade, she has helped facilitate initiatives to improve student success, namely as senior manager in the Center for Student Success. From assisting with orientation to being a member of the Committee on Academic Standards, her passion is to help students reach their academic dreams. Just have a couple notes for everyone before we get into the presentation. I'm sure a lot of you have questions, and you're welcome to ask them at any time. Just find the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen and go about halfway down. You'll see a section marked questions, and that's where you can type your questions in. And remember, all questions are good questions. If you need help with something, please don't be afraid to ask. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. Although today's presentation has been pre-recorded, the FDOC team is available right now behind the scenes to assist you. There will be a live Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we will be joined by Dr. Del and one of our talented student success advisors. A complete recording of today's webinar and a copy of the slides will be available for you later this week. And now please welcome Dr. George Dell, who will start today's presentation.
Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Professor George Dell, and again, I just want to welcome you all to the first day of class. This is always the most exciting part of our month, where we get to welcome in a brand new set of leaders into our Trident family, and we just couldn't be more excited to do this webinar for you today. The purpose of this webinar is to really just provide you a big picture overview of Trident, give you a little bit of information about who we are, what makes us special, to provide you some tips for success in these first couple weeks of your class. We're going to hop into some academic writing because we know that could be a pain point for someone who may be out of school for a while. And then we're going to transition into some career networking, and then we'll cap it off with some questions and discussion. But we hope you find this presentation useful for today. Next slide. So first, the pillars and commit values of Trident. We know this is a wordy slide. All of these slides will be sent to you via email, so you can take a look in greater detail. In addition, you will also be receiving a survey, so please fill out that survey. Let us know what you honestly think about this presentation, what we're doing well, where we can improve, because all that feedback is for your benefit and for future students. So again, this slide is definitely a very busy slide, but I like to point students to our two pillars. So we have on both sides of the slide. So you have the academic excellence pillar and the compassionate commitment pillar. And these really make up the two strands of DNA that make us who we are at Trident. So the academic excellence pillar is made up of our pedagogy, which is our learning model, which we'll dive into in greater detail. It's how you learn within the classes. The faculty are the instructors who are actually facilitating the classes and teaching you the information within your courses. The curriculum is what you're actually learning, and the standards really adhere to the national, regional, and professional standards that we strive to meet and exceed. The compassionate commitment pillar makes up your in and out of classroom experience and your interaction with any staff and faculty member that you'll have here. So we pledge to be responsive to you. We pledge to respect you. We pledge to approach your learning through a team effort. So we never want you to feel like you're on an island by yourself, kicking around in this this classroom that you don't really have very much of a personal interaction with anybody. Rather, we want to approach your learning through this interconnected web of support. So you'll hopefully feel that immediately within your classes and within your advisors, that we're constantly communicating with each other. And then finally, we pledge to offer you individualized support. You all bring with you your unique experiences and knowledge and skill sets, and you're gonna be challenged to implement those unique skills and experiences within your class. In addition to that, when things pop up in life that prevent you from moving forward in your class, we hope that you feel that individualized support, because we have practices and policies in place to help you get to that finish line, which is graduation. So more so than just 2 pillars here that tell you who we are, these are going to be really themes of your student experience and throughout this presentation today. Next slide. And so we know that you have a lot of options out there for online education, but in doing some research on those other programs, we really find that there are 3 things that separate Trident from the rest of the competition. And that is, first, our EdActive learning approach. Our EdActive learning approach it really speaks to the pedagogy that we were talking about underneath that academic excellence pillar. And so you're going to be challenged with a problem or an issue that you need to solve. You're going to do your research. You're going to apply that research and your experience to solving that solution. Your instructor is then going to offer you feedback, and then you're going to be expected to implement that feedback into upcoming assignments. And what that does is it creates this cyclical learning pattern where you're just constantly growing on top of your existing knowledge. And it's a very practical learning approach. You're not going to be presented with very many quizzes or tests or things like that. Rather, you're going to be solving real life solutions using your experiences and coupling in that research. So you're honing in those critical thinking and problem solving skills. So it's a very unique learning approach. We're very proud of that model, and we hope you are as well when you start diving into that. Secondly is our flexibility. Now, we're going to be presenting you with deadlines and due dates and all of that, but make no mistake, we are fully prepared. We have practices and policies in place to help you get to that finish line. So if some life circumstance occurs where you can't meet those deadlines, then we want to be there to support you so that you can turn in those assignments, still complete the class, and make progress toward your goal. So please make use of us. Reach out to your faculty member, reach out to your advisor, because our flexibility, I think you'll find, is the gold standard in online education. Thirdly, our third key differentiator is our affordability. Now, you see here on this infographic where Trident stands with other similar schools and other like institutions. We are well below that average average cost of tuition. But more importantly than the cost of tuition is really the value that you receive from the cost is really the value of the program. You're receiving a top-notch degree from a regionally accredited institution, and that's something that we're all very proud of, and that we're able to offer this high-quality education program at a cost that's well below the average. So those are our 3 key differentiators. We hope that you are as proud to be a part of the Trident family as we are. And at this point, I'm going to transition over to Tosha Cureton to go over some tips for student success. She's one of our senior most advisors, and there's honestly nobody better to present this next section than her.
Well, I want to welcome everybody and congratulate you. You're on the right step just by coming to the webinar today. It shows that you're taking steps to be proactive and be successful. So let's talk a little bit about being successful. Today's your first day. You're starting a new program. It can be a little bit intimidating. For many of our students, they've either tried various schools or they haven't been in class for years. And so you're starting class. There's a lot of new information to learn. Our goal is today we're going to go over some of what you can do this week to be successful and throughout the session. And we have a couple tidbits that I think will apply to you in one way or another. So be confident in what you're bringing to class. What I love is the diversity in each of our courses. We have students from fresh out of high school to leaders in the military who've been in for many years, to grandmothers, stay-at-home parents, or working professionals. Everyone brings a unique perspective, and it's just a really cool environment to learn from one another. So your perspective matters. Always ask questions. I find that our students who are most engaged with advisors and their support staff are usually the most successful in a lot of ways because they're learning all their options. If they don't have an answer that they know, that they're trying to find out answers so that they can be successful. And although this is an online school, we do want you to feel like we're just a phone call or email away. And we're going to talk about your support group. We're going to talk about time management, which is, I think, one of the biggest challenges students have. And so I want to give some tips that might help you. And then we'll talk a little bit about engaging in long-term planning. But most importantly, have fun. I love education in general because we're constantly growing, pushing ourselves, and working towards some of our lifelong goals that we have, right? And so this is an exciting time for everybody. So first I want to talk a little bit about time management. And the reason why I bring this up first is because we always want to set you up for success so that you really just have to worry about what's going on in the classroom. We take care of everything else. And time management, aside from the curriculum, tends to be the biggest challenge that we have. And so time management, you guys are working professionals, you have lives, you have families, maybe you have deployments. There's many things going on. And so I truly believe in the adage, if you don't plan, you plan to fail. And so take some time today, lay out your calendars, whether you use electronic, use a physical calendar, a planner, or on your phone, whatever it is. I use all three, and write down your due date on your calendar so that you know what to expect and when you can do them. So create a plan. Don't just put in the due date. So put in the days and the times that you're going to work. You almost want to carve out when is the best time for you to do school and create your own school schedule. So for example, you want to consider weekends. We have students who don't want to do homework on the weekends, and we have students who that's all they do is homework on the weekends. Consider holidays, birthdays, and vacations. I think a common misunderstanding our students have is they think, well, if I'm going on a vacation, I won't take a class. But you can plan all of that around your vacation, which is great because our modules are usually due, depending on how many modules are in your class, usually you have about 2 weeks to do your modules. And so I emphasize that because, as Dr. Dell mentioned, there's flexibility. And if you can make the time to set up a plan now, that's going to be a habit that you roll into your future classes so that you're not always feeling like you're playing catch up. You're feeling like you're on top of your coursework and that you can enjoy life as well as being in school. You're not always, kind of stressing about it, feeling like, oh, then last minute I'm getting to the work. And then also think about, when do you think best? Now, is it early in the morning? Is that a good time? Maybe before the kids wake up? Is it late at night when there's no other distractions? Think about those times when you think most clearly, and that would be probably the best time to carve out your schoolwork. Something to note on here is don't get discouraged if you do get behind. I mentioned that a minute ago. There are options. We do understand that the majority of our students are either active duty military or professionals and working. And so life happens. And I would just encourage you at that point to not just give up, and please reach out to us. So we're going to talk a little bit about our support staff now. And these are the people that you would be reaching out to, because I can't tell you how much time I spend, and I'm sure Dr. Del and Liz as well, trying to connect with students that we have information that can help them be successful should they need it. So when you log into your student portal on the My TLC page, so this is the first page you log into, on the home page in the lower right hand side, you'll see two photos. One will be your student finance advisor and one will be your student success advisor. You might see Liz or I's face on there. And it has our contact information and how you can schedule an appointment. It also has your finance advisor. We understand that's a very important piece. So just consider, we can help with anything that's not finance related, anything in the university, and then we contact them. But we work hand in hand. You also have your admissions advisor at this point who you're working with. Hopefully you've developed a relationship and you'll work with them through your module 1. When you're done with that, they're going to transition you over to your student success advisor who's going to be your main point of contact. So all the while there's someone who's aware you're a new student, we're here to help you. Depending on the class that you're in, maybe you've been away for a while and you're taking classes, or maybe you're a brand new student. For those in the Tux courses as well, that is something where generally our faculty is pretty responsive and interactive in general, but usually you'll get a lot of time on the phone or emails and communications if you're in Tux. So I mentioned your instructors as well, because just because it's online school doesn't mean that you can't talk to your professors. I notice students tend to feel more comfortable talking to their advisors and they have that rapport, but we also want you to connect with faculty if you have questions on your curriculum. Maybe you don't understand something and reach out to them. Don't be shy. Just imagine like if we're all in one big classroom and you're just raising your hand and trying to figure out. But I would suggest the more specific the question, the better for your teacher, because sometimes people might email me, I need help, and it helps to figure out, okay, what do you need help with in that? So we're going to talk a little bit in a moment about some of the resources. So in general, you've got a team of people, even though it may not feel like it, who are here to support you. When you're alone at night on your computer, there is a team. And please expect that you are going to get emails and phone calls from your support staff, because that's our main method of communication. So now that you're at Trident, I would encourage you to check your email every day. So with resources here, this is also on the home page of your student portal. And at the top, it will say My Home, My Record, and one of them will say My Resources. So when you click on it, there will be different resources available for you in the drop-downs. The writing workshop is a great one to kind of get your feet wet again if it's been a while and you have it written. We're going to talk more about writing right after my segment with Dr. Del. The math workshop's great just to brush up to, see if you recognize some of those terms and concepts and where you're at. Statistics is kind of there for people who are taking stats or more advanced math. I really enjoy the writing style guide. That's one of my favorites because it shows what the expectation for writing is and what well-written papers are. There's also lots of resources on the internet as well to help you that I always recommend my students, Grammarly.com being one of them, to help with some of the grammatical writing. Anyways, moving along, we'll talk about Tutor.com real quick. So if you see on this next slide here, the name of your course listed, it's in the middle of the screen. You'll see the classes currently available are. If you're in any of these classes, there is free tutoring available to you. It's a little bit subtle in the classroom, but now you might think tutoring, okay, well, I do my homework at midnight, and what if no one's available? We've partnered with Tutor.com, and so there is tutoring available. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes to connect with your tutor, and at that point, you have someone live. They're anywhere in the world, and you can ask questions related to your course as far as how do I figure this out, what am I doing? And so I would strongly suggest, especially if you're in Tux or some of the math-related or English classes, definitely take advantage of that tutoring. It's there for you. We want you to be successful. So, and you'll see on the screenshot, that's where you would locate your free tutoring in your classroom, not on the home page of your portal. The next resource is our orientation. I'm super passionate about this one. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, but I really hope that you guys went in and took some time in the last week, if not prior, to view your orientation. But don't worry, if you haven't viewed it yet, today is the perfect day to view it. So this is kind of an image of what it looks like. It's a class. When you go to your classroom, you will see Trident University orientation. I suggest going here first before you start your class. And even if you can spend 20 minutes to 2 hours in there, whatever works for you, there's so much valuable information. One being how to download Microsoft Office for free, expectations, and it's a non-live version of a class so that you feel comfortable practicing submitting discussions and assignments before you go and submit work in your class for feedback. So I can't emphasize enough how valuable this is. Usually students that do the orientation have a substantially higher success rate in their first class and in their program because of the information that's gleaned there. And you get access to it for 6 months. So it's always there if you need to go back and say, where was that piece of information? This really helps you set up expectations. So that's your homework for today, is to go into orientation if you haven't. If you already have, I have more homework for you. So nothing too crazy. So now we're going to talk a little bit about, I believe, first steps, since it's our first day of class. So with first steps, I would say, okay, today is my first day of class. I went to the webinar, and Tosha told me I need to do the orientation. But I would also suggest that you need to log in and take a tour of your actual class. You can't really mess anything up by clicking around unless you're physically uploading a piece of, a document for in the Dropbox, but that's still, you should be fine. The reason I mention that is I really encourage you, the more you click around, the more you'll become comfortable with the classroom. And usually the first session, you're learning how to manage your time and you're learning how to navigate the portal. In a session or so, you're a pro with navigating the systems, but in the meantime, there's usually 1 or 2 ways to get to the same thing. And there's some really helpful guides within the class too, if you ever go to the Help for Students section. So log in today, look over your class. There's a syllabus in every class, so you want to read through each slide there. There's a grade scale of how many points you need to be successful. It's all about points. You'll meet your instructor, ask questions, develop your plan. So today, log in, meet your instructor, participate in the introduction, and come up with your time management plan. The introduction's not graded, but usually the first day of class, it's a great opportunity to meet everyone who's in your class. Just say hi and a little bit about you, right? And check in with your advisor if you need to take care of anything else. Then, in summary, we're going to go over a little bit just what we talked about. So we talked about logging in today. If you aren't getting this hint here, I start the first day of class. Don't wait till tomorrow to log in. Start today. Usually students who log in the first day of class are most successful. And then go in, and I would encourage you, as you create your time management plan, to log in, even if it's 15 minutes a day in the beginning, just to get a sense of what you need to do and how much time you need to put in, so that you start to feel out, okay, you know what, maybe I only need to log in every other day, but maybe I do for an hour. It's up to you. But no reason to wait. Do your introduction, complete all your discussions, and your assignments. So this is where I just want to break down, and you probably might know this if you've done the orientation, but for every module, there's 3 assignments. So there's the case assignment, there's the SLP, and then there's the discussion. And so usually you'll have 2 weeks to complete all 3 assignments, but the discussions, I would set your expectation now that you need to do a discussion every week. So for module 1, you would do your initial post in the first week, and the second week you would do your peer responses. Excuse me. Every discussion requires peer responses, and it is a large portion of your grade, your discussions. It's 23% usually. So I would encourage you to go in and get involved with that and make sure that you're submitting them. It's all about points. Get to know your class, your advisor. When they call to say hi, when they send you a welcome email, say hi back. We want to hear from you. And then I would set a goal to participate in your threaded discussion by Wednesday of this week. That way you've got it out of the way. And some classes do have an expectation that within the first few days of class you need to participate. So in short, be proactive and have fun. This is an exciting time, and we're here to help you be successful.
All right, thank you very much, Tasha. Hello again, everyone, and this section is going to be on academic writing. So this is one of the concerns that we hear most often from new students and students who've been out of school for a while. So we want to take some time to address some of these concerns, specifically with essay writing. So this section is going to be focused on the differences between professional writing / military writing and academic writing. So a lot of you bring with you a wealth of experience, and that is extremely valuable for the curriculum and for your success in the classes. But there are some key differences between what you're used to within your military operations experience and business experience, and what you're going to find and what the expectation is within a classroom. And so there are 3 key differences. The first one is the goal of writing. So when you're in the military and when you're in a business environment, the only reason why you're writing is for mission accomplishment, to accomplish an objective. So everything that you write and put down and send off is geared towards accomplishing that mission. However, in an education environment, in an academic environment, the goal is to become a better communicator. So when you graduate from a university, you're expected to have a high proficiency of written and oral communication. And so your instructors are going to be focused on continually giving you feedback for you to make consistent improvement, assignment after assignment, class after class. And so those are the big differences. And how you're going to see that is really in your assignments. So you're going to be given questions and you're going to be asked to answer them. A lot of students with that military and business mindset will just give you the conclusion. Will just give me the conclusion. And as your instructor, I'm not just looking for your conclusion. I'm looking for your logic and rational thought development to how you got to those, to how you got to that conclusion. So think about that. I'm looking for you to expand those thoughts and provide evidence for how you got to that conclusion. So don't give me just a 2 or 3 sentence response. Really flesh out those ideas and tell me why and how you got to your conclusion. That is the goal of writing in an academic environment. The second key difference is the process of writing. So when you're in the military and when you're in other business office situations, you're going to be presented with a document that you need to put together. You put it together, you send it off to your supervisor, they edit it and add a couple things, they send it off to their supervisor or superior, and by the time you come to a decision, 2 or 3 hands have touched the document or the email, and then it's sent off and you make the decision. That is called a multi-authored document. In an academic environment, you're the single author. You're producing these essays by yourself. So that means you're going through the brainstorming and the formatting and the editing all by yourself, and that requires a lot more time and effort and focus from you. So you're going to have to focus. You're going to have to think about that when you develop your time management strategies. Allow that time for editing and for drafting your assignments because you are the single author. Finally, the third key difference is voice. And so if you haven't noticed, in the military, you're big on uniforms. You talk the same. You look the same. You're dressed the same. And that uniformity also often comes out in your writing. Same thing in a business environment as well. But the struggle with that, the challenge that you may have, is too much uniformity within an academic environment leaves you at risk for academic integrity violations, such as plagiarism. So it's really important that when you do your research, you take these ideas and you put them into your own words. You summarize them and synthesize them in your own words so that your instructor can measure your independent understanding. And that is your unique voice. One strategy for you to do that is to also include in-text citations using APA style, so that your instructor knows that what you're summarizing, what you're synthesizing in your own words. And so there are numerous resources for you within our TLC portal to help you with those, to help you with APA formatting and academic writing. The next slide will show is a basic structure of an essay. So this is not an all-inclusive slide for you. So I highly recommend that you use those writing resources in the TLC portal for more information. But to get the wheels going, there are 3 main parts to an academic essay. The first is an introduction. The next section are your body paragraphs, and the third is your conclusion. So that first introduction is kind of like your opening slide to a PowerPoint. If you're giving a presentation, you're telling your audience what you're talking about, what you're going to go through, and why it's important. And these things make up really what's called an introduction paragraph within your essay. You're going to be hitting those same points. It includes a thesis statement, which outlines and it also covers the questions that you're going to be talking about within the assignments. And so we outline those for you on the homepage of every assignment, as well as within the learning outcomes of every module. That next part is your body paragraph, and your body paragraphs, and every section within your body paragraph is like a new slide within your PowerPoint presentation. It's like a new topic that you're going to be talking about. And so you want to include headings and subheadings just like you do on a PowerPoint. This highlights your main ideas really clearly for your instructor to know what you're going to be discussing. Within each paragraph, I recommend keeping it within the range of 4 to 7 sentences. And the reason for this is because if you fall below 4 sentences, then you run the risk of being too brief and not fully explaining your ideas. If you're going above 7 sentences, then you really need to break off that paragraph into more paragraphs, smaller paragraphs, or be more concise and direct. So your instructor is looking for you to be thorough and concise. So think of those 2 strategies, and that's just a challenge that you're just going to have to continue to make improvement on, especially as you go through your program. We talked about evidence and providing evidence in APA style. It's really important for you to showcase that you've done the research to your instructor. How do you do that? You include in-text citations within each paragraph so that you are supporting your ideas with objective research that you've done. And you're not basing it strictly on your experiences, but you're combining your experiences with the background reading and research. Those 2 things are critical they're really the cornerstones of the Trident model and the Trident education. So start practicing that. And then I listed a couple bullet points here for you to strategize. If you're unfamiliar with what a thesis statement is, every module has what's called learning outcomes. I would recommend you look at those learning outcomes and rephrase them to sound something like this. The purpose of this essay is blank. Insert learning outcome. This makes it very clear to your instructor that you're going to address these learning outcomes, and it helps you focus your attention on how those questions meet those learning outcomes. So it directs your discussion within the essay toward those learning outcomes, which is exactly what your instructor is going to measure you on and grade you on within these assignments. And if you're struggling with what to write within a paragraph, I recommend writing a sentence or 2 on these key areas right here. You want to define the key term, and then you want to explain the application of that key term and why it's important. So those 3 things: define, explain the application, and then explain why it's important to either the learning outcome or to the topic of your class in general. Those 3 key areas will get you to the 4-sentence mark. Again, there's far more information within our writing resources to help you out in these areas, but this is just to get the wheels going. And then finally, last slide in your presentation, last paragraph in your essay is going to be your conclusion paragraph. You're basically going to rephrase what you're talking about in your introduction paragraph so that you are just telling your reader what you've already talked about and why it's important to them. So the introduction tells your reader what you're going to talk about. The conclusion tells your reader what you've already talked about. So it just mirrors each other. And those are your 3 big areas of an essay. So if you're struggling with getting started, I hope this slide has helped you out. Finally, hate to sound redundant, but if you need more help and resources, please reach out to your advisor or your instructor. or utilize those writing resources within the TLC portal. And I hope that was helpful. At this point, we're going to transition back over to Daniel Sloan to talk about some career and networking. Daniel?
Thank you, Dr. Del Hierro. We also have resources to help students outside of the classroom. First, there's Alumni Fire, which is for all students, not just Trident alumni. This is a place where you can connect with other students, alumni, faculty, and staff to get advice on your education, career, and more. This resource is invaluable for career networking and development, improving your educational standing, building mentee-mentor relationships, and more. Visit the URL on your screen or reach out to alumni at trident.edu. There's also CareerBeam, which is your source for career development, such as resume reviews, interview practice, and more. You can find that within your student portal. You can visit the URL on the screen or reach out to Trident for careers at trident.edu. This concludes our presentation today. Now let me welcome back Dr. Del Hierro and representatives from our Center for Student Success for our Q&A session. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the live portion of today's first day of class presentation. Should be being joined by Dr. Del Hierro shortly. There he is. Welcome, Dr. Del Hierro. Can't hear you, but let's fix that for everyone because he'll have a lot of great information to share. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for his audio to work, if you have any questions, please submit them in the question box. You can find it on your control panel. About halfway down, you'll see questions. Just type them in there and we'll get to them. Let's see, still working on that audio, so apologies for that. And it looks like we have a couple questions in already, and we'll get to those in a moment. Technology, when you need it to work most, that's when it doesn't work. He should be on shortly. We're working on that right now. So should be back on momentarily. And so to start addressing some of the questions come in, I'll do my best to do this solo. I know we've gotten a few questions in already about how to address the work you got, because I know some of you have been out of school for a while and it may seem like there is a fair amount of work there. So it's best to, like Tosha said during her presentation, it's best to break that work up into chunks. And really today you should be logging on to your threaded discussion and starting to contribute to the conversations there. Because the way it works is that your contribution is going to spur the conversation and bring on other contributions from your fellow students so that threaded discussion begins. So it's really important that you always start that at the start of each module. And looks like we have Dr. Del Hierro back.
Hi, Danny, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so sorry about that, everyone. I think when I turned on my webcam, the connection was running slow, so I didn't hear the original question, but it was something about the discussions. Is that right?
Yeah, we had a couple questions that came in. They were similar. They were about it's a similar question that we get each session. Where should I start? Threaded discussion, case study, or session-long project, or the SLP? You'll hear us mention that a lot. And what I was saying is that it's best that students do what works best for them, but jump in to that threaded discussion as soon as they can. But I'm going to hand it off to you because you're much more of an expert in this area.
Thanks. No, the beauty of our program is that you have flexibility. So the discussion is indeed a really good spot to start, just because it helps build momentum, early momentum in your class. The discussion is also kind of a unique part of the class that that really does depend on your consistent involvement week to week, unless of course something pops up as an emergency. But one of the criteria for the discussion is on your consistent engagement. So post early, and I would say at least once or twice a week within the discussion. But going back to, where do you start? Do you do the case first? Do you do the SLP first? And it really does depend. Like for me, when I was a student, I liked to do the SLP first because it was kind of a shorter assignment. For me, building momentum again was paramount. So it was my primary concern. So it was a shorter assignment. I can knock that out in the first week and then refocus on the case assignment the second week. I know other students who prefer to do the case assignment because it's the largest part of your grade. So they want to get that done first and then work through the SLP next. So it really does depend on how you can best maintain your momentum and consistent participation in your classes. So just think about that. One of the other questions we get about the case and the SLP in the discussion is the points value. So the case is worth 50 points, the SLP is worth 30 points, and the discussion is worth 20 points. So you could see the difference, the weight of each assignment. And if you don't submit an assignment, you just get 0 points. If you submit a bad assignment, at least you're getting points, and then you can work with your instructor to help improve that grade. But consider that when you're drafting your time management schedule, are the points value and how can you best utilize your time to maximize your points. So I hope that adds a little clarity to your question.
Yeah, that's great advice. And to those students out there, and I'm just going to add a little bit since Dr. Dell here wasn't on when I first started answering, is that you may have heard two slightly different things from us, but that's the beauty of what you're starting here, is that as long as you complete the assignments well by their due date, that's all that matters. So if you're someone like me who likes to slay the biggest dragon first and do that case study, then go after it. But just don't forget that, like Dr. Del Hero said, you've got points with everything. And don't forget the little things too. Those of you who are focused on getting those big things, don't forget about that threaded discussion and wait until 2 days before the module is over, because it's going to affect your classmates and it's going to affect you, most importantly. So moving on to the next question, Dr. Del Hero, this is definitely in your wheelhouse. One of our new students said, thank you for the explanation on writing. I have never been a good writer. With such a writing intensive program, what are some things that I can do in working with my professors to get where I need to be as a writer?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, I think first it depends on what program you're in. So the expectations will be higher if you're in a master's or a doctoral level program. But first and foremost, be upfront with your professor. Shoot them an email, letting them know that, hey, I've been out of school for a while. I kind of struggle with writing. I recognize this. Here are the things that I'm doing. Making use of the Writing Resource Lab and all the resources that we have in the TLC portal, so your professor knows that you're being proactive and you're making use of those resources. And then if your assignment comes back and you're not getting the grade that you're hoping you can get, I would always recommend just reaching out to your instructor and asking if you can resubmit assignments. My personal style is that I do allow assignment resubmissions for students. I know other faculty members that don't. So it's gonna depend on your instructor. But if you've been out for a while, chances are you're coming into a class with an instructor who's fully prepared to work with you to get you up to speed. I would say this, so you could work with your instructor that way, and you could always make use of the resources. But also be kind to yourself and take a deep breath and know that writing is going to take time. So even as a doctoral student in my PhD program, I was still working on developing my writing. So you're not going to master it right away. Don't expect that. Your instructor doesn't expect that. Again, we're here to help you become a better writer, not a perfect writer. And it's going to be a process, but mark my words, because our program is writing intensive, you may struggle a little bit, but trust me, by the end of the program, it's gonna be second nature to you. And good, I don't know if I think I said it before, but good writers are good thinkers. And if you're being challenged in this way, take it get excited about that, because your brain is growing stronger. And the better writer you are, the better communicator you are, and the better thinker you are. And so that is the beauty of the curriculum. Be nice to yourself. Just take it a step at a time. Get those assignments in, and then take the feedback and then try your best on the next assignment. But don't get discouraged, because trust me, doesn't matter what level you are, we could all use improvement with writing. It's a never-ending process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I started writing professionally when I was 16, and it's something that I improve upon every day. And to build off of what Dr. Dell here was saying is that when you get feedback from your professors, don't take it to heart. View the feedback as tips, advice, because they want you to get better. And it's like, in a way, they're giving you answers to the test. These are ways you can get better. So save those comments, and you'll be able to track your progress over time, but also it's going to help you to improve if you're open to that feedback. So next question for you, Dr. Dell here, this is a bit of an interesting one, is a new student who is working on their BS/BA, or a new student to Trident, excuse me, and they're not quite sure what to do with that BS/BA afterwards. They want to get a master's, but they're just not sure how to approach their career. And do you have any advice for them?
Oh man, first advice is to reach out to your advisor or your faculty member, or the career services department. We have a great career counseling staff that can help you and provide some more direction. I hate to sound like I'm giving you a cop out, but it really does depend on who you are. I'd love to sit down with you and have some coffee and talk through that a little bit more about what you're doing now and how you can apply it. But the bottom line is that BS/BA is a very, very practical degree that you can take with you in any industry. So your job as a student is to think about how those lessons and how those principles can be used in whatever career track you're in. Even if you're I don't care if you're a babysitter or in daycare or a plumber or whatever you are, that is such a practical degree that will stay with you forever and will help get you to the next level. So I wish I can be more specific for you, but I do challenge you in each and every one of your classes. I don't care if you're taking art history or psychology or English or math. These classes are in the program to help you think creatively and critically. And so think about how each of these classes can in some way help you in your career. When you do that, you're going to be able to market yourself in a much more effective way in whatever career track you go into. So this whole, all the general eds that you're taking, general ed classes, those are the hallmarks of an American higher education degree. I do strong. I mean, it's just a fact that more and more, if you're looking to get to the next level, an MBA or a master's degree is starting to become more expected out of students and those that are going to advance. But again, it depends on what type of career you're in. But I would recommend that you reach out to your advisor in our career services department, because it really does depend on what career you're in, what your goals are. I mean, these are questions that I would ask you, and over coffee, over a conversation, because it really does. Those are really important questions to ask when you're considering the next level.
Yeah, and Dr. Dell here makes some great points there. And because if you think about a business degree, a big part of business is networking. And so don't be afraid to network with your advisors, with each and every professor you have, and maintain those strong relationships as you're going through the program and even in future programs, because they're going to help you learn. They're going to be the ones who, like here, they're going to say, hey, let's get coffee, let's get on the phone, let's get on Skype and talk about it, because these are people who are invested in your success, and you're going to learn more about yourself as you build those relationships over time. So.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and we have one more question, and as a reminder, anyone those people who are online, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask, because there's a lot of things out there and a lot of resources we have to help students out. And that's the theme of the next question. And Dr. Dell here, how do new students access the writing resources that are available in the student portal?
Yeah, so when you log in and you put in your credentials, you log in, that's called your TLC portal. On that homepage, you're going to see a drop-down tab that says resources. When you click on resources, you'll see a collection of different resources ranging from math to writing. There's like 2 or 3 different writing resources on there. But that's where you access all of your resources, your supplemental writing resources and math resources, is that resources drop-down menu on your TLC portal landing page.
Great. Yeah, and like you said, we just don't have writing resources. There's math resources, because statistics too is something that is a pain point for a lot of students, but it's becoming increasingly important for careers.
Yeah, and if you're struggling, let us know. Shoot your advisor an email, and we'll make sure that you can access all of those.
Great.
I do recognize that as a new student, it can be kind of frustrating learning a new system and a new portal. But believe me, these are all natural feelings. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of a learning curve. It doesn't even matter if you're on campus somewhere, you still need to know where the bathroom is. You still need to ask somebody, where's the bathroom or the water fountain. Same thing here in an online environment. You need to know where your class is or how you can access an assignment. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because we'd much rather have you spend time doing the assignments and getting your degree versus trying to figure out where something is on the site. So we're used to these questions. And trust us, we understand the value of them in you pursuing your degree and getting the best out of your education.
Yeah, and if Tosha was here, she would say, make sure you do the orientation, because there's a high correlation between those students who go through the orientation and those students who succeed. And if you have any questions, like I said, if we have any questions, we have people dedicated to all these resources to help out. And so that looks like all the questions we have for today. If you have any additional questions, you can send them in. We'll collect those questions and get back to you afterwards, because our system collects everything that's sent in, so we won't miss any questions. And there's also a survey that you'll see afterwards. But I'm going to thank Dr. Del Hierro for his contributions, and we're going to close things out with a student success story, and actually one of my favorite ones to share, because this really shows you never know where you're going to end up. So thank you so much, Dr. Del Hierro.
Bye now.
Okay, there we go. So the Trident AIU family is comprised of extraordinary men and women from all over the planet, and sometimes we can't control those things that hold us back for a variety of reasons. It might be environmental, it might be something inside that we don't know that's holding us back. But one story I want to share is a student who grew up in Liberia, and at the time the country was embroiled in a 15-year civil war. And she was a clever person. She was someone who really wanted more out of life. And not only was she held back by the civil war, but she was living in a place that had certain cultural expectations for women. But being a professional in the technology and engineering fields was not among them. But those are things she really felt strongly about. And it's always funny where inspiration comes from, because inspiration for her came when she saw a movie, which many of you probably know, called Air Force One. It inspired her, and she started telling people she wanted to work on aircrafts, and she wanted to be an engineer. And while those people in her community didn't support her, her family supported her. And she eventually went to a few classes, and she got a scholarship and completed her associates. She came to the US and completed her bachelor's, and now she's an MBA graduate from Trident. And she's someone who, she was focused on her goal, and she really did her best to shut out those naysayers. You know, she lives and works in the US and has been doing that for quite some time. And what's most inspiring about her is that not only did she get to where she wanted to be, but she's someone who is helping out. And she talks to other women, whether they're women from her home country or women in the US who are interested in these fields, because even within the US, these fields are heavily made up of men. So she's someone who she earned her degree, and she's constantly giving back. And I'll leave you with this direct quote from her. She says, "Life is a series of tests or challenges. At every turn, we can be faced by difficulty. All people strive to succeed and understand their place or purpose in the world. In countries like my home of Liberia, we have been forced to live under extraordinary circumstances. One can only survive these conditions if one believes in a higher order. As I reflect on my life, the hands of God have always seemed to guide my safety and success. It's her beliefs inside which helped her out, coupled with her hard work and hopefully the support network she had here at Trident. We'd like to say we were there to help, but that's for her to say. And she's actually someone I still keep in touch with, because like I was talking about networking, she's someone I know nothing about IT, and she's someone I know I can reach out to if I have a question about IT. She's going to send me back a well thought out answer. And she graduated a few years ago at this point. So never be afraid to keep in contact with your staff and faculty. I want to wish everyone a wonderful session, whether it's this session or all your sessions leading up to graduation. Good luck. We're here if you need us, and see you on graduation day. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.